Have you ever heard of gods and demons joining forces, not to wage war but to churn an ocean? The tale of Samudra Manthan begins with an ancient crisis in the cosmic order. The Devas, weakened and desperate after losing their power, approached Lord Vishnu. The only hope? The nectar of immortality hidden deep within the cosmic ocean. But the ocean would not give up its secrets so easily. It needed to be churned. And to churn it, the gods would need the help of their rivals, the Asuras. What followed was a collaboration of cosmic scale, a pact of temporary unity forged in necessity, not trust. From this celestial event would emerge not just divine treasures, but a timeless allegory of struggle, transformation, and self-realization. This story has echoes in Greek, Norse, and Mesopotamian myths of cosmic seas, of serpents, of hidden elixirs. But in India, it became a tale of yoga and inner balance. Let us begin this journey into one of the most mesmerizing myths ever told. But why would gods need help from demons? The answer lies in a curse cast by the sage Durvasa, which had sapped the strength of the Devas. The Asuras, ever ambitious, seized this moment to rise. Fearing cosmic imbalance, the Devas turned to Vishnu, who suggested churning the Kira Sagara, the ocean of milk, for Amrita, the nectar of immortality. But churning an ocean? It required a mountain for a churning rod and a serpent for a rope. Mount Mandara was chosen, and the mighty serpent Vasuki agreed to serve as the churning rope. Yet the task was beyond divine might alone. It demanded cooperation. And so, a deal was struck. The Asuras would help churn the ocean, and in return share in the nectar. Little did they know, this alliance would test their pride, patience, and fate itself. The stage was set. A mountain, a serpent, gods and demons locked in uneasy alliance, ready to churn the cosmic sea. With the pact sealed, the churning began. The Devas and Asuras gripped either end of the great serpent Vasuki, gods at the tail, demons at the head, and pulled back and forth, causing Mount Mandara to spin. But the mountain, lacking a foundation, began to sink into the depths. Panic surged until Vishnu, ever watchful, incarnated as Kurma, the divine tortoise. Enormous and serene, Kurma rose from the depths and supported the mountain upon his back, steadying the cosmic axis. With the mountain balanced, the churning resumed in rhythmic waves, an act so powerful it stirred the heavens, shook the earth, and echoed through eternity. This moment is not just myth, it is metaphor. The struggle between opposing forces, anchored by balance, becomes the path to hidden treasures. The ocean symbolizes the subconscious, the churn, a yogic awakening. As the cosmic churn intensified, wonders began to rise from the depths, treasures long hidden in the folds of the subconscious ocean. First came Kamadhenu, the wish-granting cow, radiant and pure, followed by Airavata, the majestic white elephant, and Ucheshravas, the divine steed. Jewels, celestial trees, and apsaras, celestial dancers, emerged one after another, each symbolizing a facet of abundance and beauty. The Asuras and Devas paused in awe, but the churning could not stop, not yet. Among these divine gifts also rose Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune and harmony, seated on a blooming lotus. As she cast her serene gaze over the world, the Devas rejoiced, for her presence signaled restoration of cosmic order. The treasures of Samudra Manthan were not mere objects. They were symbols of virtues and powers born of inner struggle. But deeper still, the ocean guarded one final gift, Amrita. But not all that surfaced was divine. As the churning deepened, a dark, deadly force emerged, Halahala, the cosmic poison. Its fumes threatened to destroy all existence. Gods and demons alike recoiled, powerless against its malevolence. Chaos loomed. In that moment of peril, Shiva, the great ascetic, the Lord beyond opposites, was summoned. Without hesitation, he drank the poison to save creation. But Parvati, his consort, gently clasped his throat to prevent it from reaching his heart. The poison remained suspended in his neck, turning it blue, earning him the name Nilakantha, the blue-throated one. This act wasn't merely heroic, it was deeply symbolic. Destructive forces often arise in transformative processes, and true yogis like Shiva must hold them with detachment, neither swallowing nor rejecting. Halahala is the bitterness we churn within, the shadows that must be faced before light emerges. With the poison neutralized, the churning resumed. The ocean now pulsed with expectation. What lay within was no longer just treasure, but destiny itself. At last, the waves parted and Damvantari emerged, glowing with divine radiance. In his hands, he held the kumbha, the sacred pot containing Amrita, the nectar of immortality. The Devas rejoiced, but so did the Asuras. This was the prize they had toiled for, the elixir that could alter fate. Tension crackled in the air. In myth, Danvantari is not just the bearer of Amrita, he is the god of medicine, healing, and balance. His appearance marks the culmination of struggle and the beginning of restoration. But as the pot surfaced, greed overshadowed awe. The fragile alliance between gods and demons began to crack. The battle for Amrita was about to begin, not just on the waves, but within the hearts of those who reached for it. The moment Amrita appeared, unity shattered. The Asuras lunged toward Damvantari, eyes gleaming with desire. The Devas, bound by Dharma, hesitated, but knew they could not allow immortality to fall into the wrong hands. The fragile balance teetered on the edge of chaos. In this pivotal moment, Vishnu transformed once again, this time into Mohini, the enchantress. She was beauty incarnate, divine grace in motion. The Asuras, mesmerized, willingly handed over the kumbha, enchanted by her presence. Devas watched silently, understanding the deeper play. Mohini is not deception, but discernment, Maya that guides truth through illusion. She did not steal, she revealed. With poise and elegance, she distributed the nectar, but only to the gods. The Asuras, too late, realized the trick. Yet, even illusion in divine hands serves the order of the cosmos. The churning was nearing its end, but its echoes were just beginning. As Mohini gracefully poured the nectar into the cups of the Devas, one Asura, clever and observant, sensed the deception. Disguising himself as a Deva, he quietly slipped into the line and drank the nectar. His name was Svarbhanu. But just as the elixir touched his lips, the sun god Surya and the moon god Chandra recognized him and alerted Vishnu. In a flash, Mohini transformed back into Vishnu and hurled his discus, the Sudarshana chakra, severing Svarbhanu's head. Yet the nectar had already touched him, he could not die. His head, now immortal, became Rahu, and his body became Ketu, two celestial beings who would forever chase the sun and moon, causing eclipses. This tale, rich in metaphor, speaks of karma and cosmic justice, how hidden actions have eternal consequences, and how even a drop of truth can change destiny. With the nectar safely consumed by the Devas and the deception thwarted, balance was finally restored. The Devas, now rejuvenated and immortal, regained their strength and cosmic authority. The Asuras, realizing their loss, retreated into the shadows, their ambitions undone not by force, but by discernment and destiny. The churning of the ocean had ended, but its outcomes rippled across the universe. Treasures were won, poisons neutralized, truths revealed. The cosmic order Rita had been reestablished. Yet this tale is not merely about divine beings or celestial battles. It is a mirror held up to the inner cosmos. Each character, each event is a symbol of forces within us. The ocean is the mind, deep and restless. The mountain is concentration. The serpent, our vital energy. And the churn, the ceaseless effort to unveil truth. The story of Samudra Manthan is not just mythology, it is a path. Though the myth ends with divine victory, the deeper message of Samudra Manthan is far more personal and enduring. In yogic philosophy, this tale represents the churning of the self, the tapasya, or disciplined effort, needed to uncover our highest potential. The Devas and Asuras are not just cosmic beings, but symbolic of our own dualities, aspiration and desire, wisdom and ego, serenity and restlessness. The process of inner transformation is rarely peaceful. It requires endurance, balance, and the courage to face what lies beneath the surface, our own halahala. But it also offers divine rewards, clarity, insight, and eventually, spiritual awakening. Mohini, Lakshmi, Damvantari, each symbolizes a different outcome of inner balance, grace, harmony, and healing. In this way, Samudra Manthan becomes a parable of the yogic path, where the body is the vessel, the breath is the rope, and the mind is the ocean, deep and powerful, waiting to be awakened. In many traditions, the motif of a primordial ocean being churned or divided to reveal creation recurs, suggesting a universal human intuition about transformation through struggle. In Babylonian mythology, Tiamat, the chaotic ocean goddess, is split to create the world. In Norse legend, Ymir's body becomes the cosmos. Even in Greek tradition, chaos gives way to cosmos through divine conflict. But in the Indian vision, Samudra Manthan uniquely centers not on conquest, but balance. It does not end in domination, but in rejuvenation. Unlike myths where one side obliterates the other, this tale insists that even the darkest forces have a role. The Asuras, despite their ambition, were necessary. Without resistance, there is no churn. Without churn, no nectar. This is not a myth of good versus evil, it is a myth of integration. And that is what makes it timeless. Among the many treasures born of the churning, none is more significant than Lakshmi, the goddess of abundance, beauty, and inner harmony. Her emergence from the ocean is not incidental, it is deeply symbolic. In the midst of chaos, effort, and conflict, she arises effortlessly, seated on a lotus, untouched by the turbulence below. She chooses Vishnu, the preserver, signifying that prosperity thrives in order and dharma. Lakshmi is not just wealth, she is the flowering of virtue, grace, and spiritual prosperity. In yogic understanding, she represents the blossoming of the heart center, the Anahata chakra, when the mind has been purified and the ego balanced. Just as she emerges from the depths, our own inner radiance arises only after the churn of introspection and the stillness that follows. True abundance, the myth suggests, is not external, it is the reward of inner alignment. Another profound symbol to emerge from the ocean was Dhanvantari, the divine physician, bringing with him not only the nectar of immortality, but the wisdom of healing. His appearance in the Samudra Manthan signifies that true transformation is not merely about strength or spiritual insight, but also health, balance, and the restoration of the body and mind. Dhanvantari is revered in Ayurveda as the originator of ancient Indian medicine. His gifts are the herbs, the understanding of the body's energies, and the harmony of inner rhythms. In the yogic journey, he represents the balance of the three doshas, Vata, Pitta, and Kapha, and the subtle flow of prana. Just as the churn brought forth poison and nectar, so too does inner work bring pain and healing. Dhanvantari reminds us, spiritual progress cannot bypass the body, it must include its care, its purification, and its alignment with nature. As the narrative of Samudra Manthan unfolds, it becomes clear that this is more than a story, it is a mandala of the human experience. The ocean represents the unconscious mind, vast and mysterious. The devas and asuras are the forces of light and shadow within us, each pulling in opposition, each necessary. The mountain is focus, the serpent is our life force, kundalini wrapping and unwinding in cycles. Korma, the tortoise, is stability and grounding. Lakshmi is the flowering of the heart, and Dhanvantari, the awakening of healing intelligence. Even the poison halahala is vital, it is the recognition of suppressed pain that must be faced. In yoga, the churning is sadhana, the disciplined effort toward self-realization. The lesson? That through inner struggle, with patience and balance, clarity will rise from chaos. The churning is not the end, it is the beginning of awareness. One of the most compelling interpretations of Samudra Manthan lies in its parallel with the awakening of Kundalini, the dormant spiritual energy said to reside at the base of the spine. Just as the churning ocean releases both poison and nectar, the process of spiritual awakening brings forth both pain and transcendence. Vasuki, the serpent used as the rope, is symbolically identical to Kundalini Shakti, coiled, latent, and immensely powerful. The mountain, spinning at the axis, represents the spine. As the forces of ego and higher self churn our being, energy rises through the chakras, each treasure representing a new realization. The poison is the ego's resistance, the nectar, the bliss of union with the divine. This allegory transcends time and tradition, it becomes a living practice. The Samudra Manthan is not just something that happened, it is something happening within, here and now, for all sincere seekers. The churning of the ocean also offers a profound insight into the idea of detachment, a central tenet in yogic philosophy. The Devas and Asuras both churned with desire, but only the Devas ultimately received the nectar. Why? Because they aligned with Dharma, with purpose greater than self. The Asuras acted from greed, and their grasping led to loss. The message is subtle yet clear. True transformation requires action without attachment to outcome. Vishnu's role is especially instructive. He does not fight or force, but intervenes with balance, timing, and clarity. He becomes Kurma when needed, Mohini when required. His fluidity is the very essence of yoga, responding, not reacting. In spiritual practice, this is the art of karma yoga, to churn, to strive, to serve, without being entangled in reward. The ocean gives only to those who churn with surrender. In the silence that follows the churning, what remains is wisdom, subtle, distilled, enduring. The Samudra Manthan does not merely teach mythology, it imparts a framework for living. The ocean is our inner world, and every practice, be it yoga, meditation, service, or contemplation, is a turn of the rope. At times, poison rises, fear, anger, sorrow. But with the steadiness of a tortoise heart, we hold it, witness it, and remain. Then come the gifts, insight, healing, harmony. And finally, if the churning is deep and sustained, the nectar, amrita, reveals itself as the still joy of being. This is the timeless offering of the myth, that in each of us lies an ocean, and in each moment an invitation to churn with purpose. And the nectar? It is not something we possess, but something we become. And so, the churning ends, but the story doesn't fade. Like many great myths, Samudra Manthan wraps up not with a final answer, but with an invitation to think deeper. Who really won? What was the real treasure? Was it the nectar, or everything that came before it? The effort, the setbacks, the unexpected alliances? This isn't just a tale of ancient gods and cosmic oceans. It's a way of looking at challenges as something that might bring turmoil at first, but eventually reveals what truly matters. The story lingers because it mirrors something familiar, not in the heavens, but here, in how we deal with our own turning points. And maybe that's why it still speaks to us, thousands of years later.